Hello. There is a new copyright lawsuit, plagiarism lawsuit filed against NewJeans ETA. So, a lawsuit alleges that NewJeans' 2023 song ETA copied multiple elements from an instrumental dance track released nearly 2 decades earlier. According to a legal complaint dated July 7, 2026, first obtained and reported by Billboard, a copyright infringement lawsuit has been filed against NewJeans members Minji, Hani, Herin, Heyin, and former member Danielle, as well as their label, ADOR, the parent company of ADOR HYBE, several songwriters, producers, and companies involved in the creation and distribution of ETA. Now, this is the second plagiarism lawsuit filed against ADOR, New Jeans, and songwriters like Bana, but the third formal complaint. And because of this, there also have been numerous public allegations against New Jeans' team, and that includes ADOR former CEO Min Heejin, choreographers, visual directors, and others of copying other groups' choreography, visual elements in their music videos, styling, and many K-pop fans, as you know, like calling it plagiarism. It is not, but we're going to be discussing that. But because of this, a lot of questions are coming to the surface, and that includes what are the details of the lawsuits? How strong is the case? And what is the status? Next, why is New Jeans being sued when they only perform the songs? Are the songwriters just trying to get some publicity going? Next, if the plaintiffs of these lawsuits actually win, can Adore go after Min Heejin? And will New Jeans pay damages? And because, as I've said, there are more and more allegations coming out against Min Heejin, the staff under her, including choreographers and visual team, and New Jeans of copying other K-pop groups' choreography that came before them, K-pop groups that came before them. New Jeans and their team copied their choreography, visual elements, styling. Can these groups actually sue New Jeans and Adore and their team, the team that were behind New Jeans, the team that was behind New Jeans during that time? Can they be sued? And also, what are those? What are those choreographies and visual elements that were copied? Okay, so we're going to be discussing all of that. As always, timestamp is in the description box just in case you want to jump to a specific topic. Another disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. This is not a legal advice, so please treat this as the first step of a larger research that you should do. Okay, let's go first through the lawsuits, the plagiarism lawsuits. Okay, the first is ETA, and this is the most recent one. On July 7, 2026, All Surface Publishing, they are the rights holder and publisher of the earlier track. They sued New Jeans members, HYBE, Adore, plus various individuals and companies that were involved in the creation, production, and distribution of ETA. Okay. And their allegation is that ETA copied a substantial original elements from the 2005 Baltimore club track Samir's theme by producer DJ Debonair Samir. So this is not actually the first time that this company is suing for the use of the same track. Okay? So just make it clear. The track that they said is being plagiarized is Samir's theme. And this is not the first time they sued someone for using that same track. Okay, in 2024, they sued Mr. 305 Inc., which is the label of rapper Pitbull. They said that his 2021 hit I Feel Good also infringed on the same work. And the lawsuit was actually settled last year. Now, there's a little complication here because the actual genre or style is not copyrightable. But they said that the combination of the different elements in ETA, so that includes the horn, loud, clipped, insistent, syncopated melodic horns combined with bass, drums, and specific rhythmic structures. If you put those together, ETA is substantially similar and protectable. The track Samir's theme, it is a copy. ETA copied Samir's theme. So again, the actual genre or style that's not copyrightable. But all of this put together, they said that is protectable. And that is what ETA copied. Okay, hope that's clear. Now, fans and critics have already publicly noted the similarity back in 2023 when ETA was released. Some descriptions even linked it directly to the 2000 club track. Okay, so this is not the first time that people have heard of the similarity, but I guess it took time for them to actually sue NewJeans and ADOR. Okay, the status, of course, obviously it's ongoing. They just filed the lawsuit and no formal statement from ADOR yet. Next is the How Sweet song, which was filed in May 2026. And the plaintiffs are Audrey Armacost, which is the singer songwriter associated with Pulse Music Group. Remember that name because it's going to come up again. Aidan Rodriguez, a Grammy nominated producer, Adam Gokebe, which is a songwriter and A&R, and Michael Campanelli, which is a producer. Okay, and they sued HYBE, HYBE Music Services, HYBE America, Adore, NewJeans members Minji, Hani, ex-member Danielle, Herin, and Heyin. And they also sued Bana, Beasts and Natives alike, and that includes specific people in the team, including Hannah Cho, Keon Kim, uh, Sarah Aarons, Coca-Cola, UMG Recordings, YG Plus, and others. Okay, so how sweet is this? So they said the allegation is that um, this is what they said happened. This is the timeline. They said that in January 2024, they received an instrumental via their publisher Pulse, and then Adore was specifically asking for them to create a top line. The top line is the melody and the lyrics. And it was going to be for New Jeans. Now, the four plaintiffs, they delivered it and they came up with a demo of One of a Kind. However, it was rejected. But 4 months later, May 24, 2024, New Jeans released How Sweet, which is the title track for their EP single. Um, and they said that the first verse of How Sweet is allegedly quantitatively and qualitatively similar, and in parts virtually identical to the top line of One of a Kind. And they made specific claims like both are in B flat minor, 4/4 time, an approximate 8 bar, 31 note melodic sequence consisting of four similar phrases or series with comparable rhythm and structures. The claim included direct copyright infringement, vicarious infringement, and a demand for an accounting of profits, and they want a share of that and also a change in the credits. Now, the company said that there is access, which is actually a very important element in a copyright claim, in a plagiarism claim. They said that Bana actually had access to what they did, and Bana actually confirmed the receipt of the song that they submitted. Now, Adore responded in May 2026, and they said that they checked with Bana, the team handling the songwriting, and they stated that there was no plagiarism involved. And Adore and the members plan to respond to the lawsuit in line with Bana's position. It's still ongoing. It was filed May 2026. No final ruling reported as of early July 2026. Okay. Now the next song is Bubblegum, which happened in 2024. I mean, the whole claim happened in 2024. Now, Shakatak and their uh, label, Wise Music Group, claimed that there was similarities in the song. So this happened June 2024, but publicly reported around July 18, 2024. Shakatak, through their publisher Wise Music Group, sent a formal letter of demand or claim to Adore, HYBE, Korea Music Copyright Association, or KOMCA, and Sony Music Publishing Korea branch, and others. And they alleged that New Jeans Bubblegum, this is that song, 1981 track Easier Said Than Done. And that included similar and distinctive melody, hook, and rhythm, similar use of electric guitar and bass, nearly identical tempo. Shakatak had 104 BPM, Bubblegum had 105 BPM. There was also similar harmonies and overall feel, and that they demanded immediate cessation of use and sales of bubblegum. They also wanted accounting of profits and they wanted a change in the credits and, of course, a share in the profit. Now, ADOR responded very, very strongly. They actually denied unauthorized use and plagiarism. And they said that they wanted Wise Music Group and Shakatak to hire mu- give them credible musicological analysis. So Shakatak said that they're going to do that. Right now, there is no progress. But they said that the composers, including 250, Oscar Bell, Sophie Simmons, had never heard of Shakatak's song before the claim. So they have not, Shakatak and Wise Music Group has actually not escalated this to the court, but there is a back and forth. I'm assuming that in a couple of months, in several months, or in several years, we'll probably hear what actually happened. Okay. Now, next question. Why are the New Jeans members being sued when they only sang the songs? Is it because getting the member's name will give them publicity? Well, the short answer is that in US copyright, plaintiffs often just sue everyone they believe participated in the alleged infringement, not just the songwriter. So it does not necessarily mean that they think New Jeans personally copied the song. It's just that they like suing everybody. So that includes the record label, the publisher, the producers, the songwriters, the distributors, and also the performing artists themselves. The argument is that everybody participated in exploiting or commercially benefiting from the alleged infringing work. So it, however, will only be decided by the court who, if anyone is liable, who's going to pay the damages, or if some of the defendants are actually responsible, more responsible than others. So it's going to be up to the court. Now, who's spending for all of these lawsuits? Of course, it's ADOR. And if ever they lose the lawsuit, Adore will be paying that unless the court specifically name people in the lawsuit has to pay. Okay. Now, next question. If ever those that are suing them actually win, can Adore go after Min Heejin since she was the CEO when all of this happened? And the answer is yes. If the plaintiffs win, Adore can sue Min Heejin, but not just because she was the CEO. It's not a straight line. The CEO of a company is not always liable for everything that happens in a company. But there is an argument to be made. They can say that as CEO, you breached your fiduciary duties by failing to exercise reasonable oversight over the company's music production process, exposing Adore. Sorry about my dog. Processes. Sorry, let's say that again. Sorry about my dog. As CEO, you breached your fiduciary duties by failing to exercise reasonable oversight over the company's music production process, exposing Adore to foreseeable copyright liability. So, however, there's actually something more interesting. Adore is arguing in other litigation that Min controlled almost everything. She directed strategy, she controlled production, controlled new genes, directed staff, made key decisions. That narrative will actually help Adore in their case against Danielle. But if Adore later wanted to sue Min over copyright, over what's happening right now, that same narrative could actually support an argument that she exercised extensive control over the creative process, and that means she is directly responsible for the plagiarism. Okay. Another thing is if Adore loses ETA and how sweet, and if for some reason bubblegum escalates or they are asked to pay or share credit to the songwriters, Adore has multiple judgments saying that songs released under Min's leadership infringed copyrights. Okay, so there is a pattern, in other words, since it's not an isolated incident. There has been multiple songs that infringed copyrights. Then Adore could argue this is not an isolated mistake. It's a reflection of failed management and oversight. Now, whether that argument would succeed is another question. But the point is that there is an argument to be made if there are multiple things like this that happen, especially if they lose the case, if the songwriters actually win, then they can very much say that this is a pattern. Okay. Now, if you would remember, Min previously claimed absolute control over New Jeans. In the press conference, when she did the first press conference and in succeeding interview, she insisted that she had absolute control over everything, that New Jeans would not have been successful if it wasn't for her. All the visuals, the concept, it all came from her. But then when they were sued by the alleged songwriters, when they were sued for How Sweet, she immediately denied being involved in the production or songwriting of the track. Okay. So the question is, can Adore use that against her? Because she initially claimed that she had absolute control over everything. Can Adore use that against her if they ever sue her? And the answer is yes. But it's not, again, it's not a straight line. It is not absolutely conclusive. In other words, Adore cannot just go to the court and say, she can't simultaneously claim complete creative control over New Jeans' success and deny meaningful responsibility when the company faces copyright liability. So she's guilty. She's liable for all of this. And you can't expect the court to say, oh, yeah, yes, yes, she's guilty. It's not a straight line like that. It has to be used as an additional argument with other tangible evidence, such as a clear documentation of her fiduciary duties and how the process and her oversight caused multiple copyright infringement. However, it is a very credible argument. Saying that um, you claim absolute control over Nugent's success. Therefore, you should share meaningful responsibility in everything, including facing copyright liability. That's a credible argument, and judges often consider inconsistent positions when evaluating testimony. Okay, now next question. What are the groups that Nugents and their team plagiarized? That's a wrong terminology, but that's the terminology many K-pop stans use. What are the choreographies of other groups that Nugent's team plagiarized or copied or took inspiration from? What are the different looks, music video elements? What did they copy? Okay, before we get into this discussion, let me get one thing very, very clear. Plagiarism is a legal term. For you to claim plagiarism, you need to have legal right over the thing that you claim is being copied. So if I say, "Hey, you plagiarized me," I need to prove that I have legal rights over that thing that I'm saying they are copying or plagiarizing. And many K-pop fans use the word plagiarism when they actually really are talking about copyright infringement or creative inspiration. Those are not the same thing. Plagiarism as a word is being misused heavily by K-pop stans. Now, copyright protects an original creative work, but not the basic building blocks that everyone needs to create. Okay? So usually a dance step and an entire routine use many, many building blocks in order to put them together. Okay, let's look at the now famous 333 dance step of BTS in um, Fire. Okay. So for them to execute these dance steps, several things are happening. He's moving his arms, he's moving his head, and he's moving his legs. Most likely other things as well, like the feet, the hips, and whatever. Okay. So all of those individual elements, that's a building block. You cannot copyright those. You cannot copyright him raising his arm. You cannot copyright the head movement because those are basic moves that are being used by others in order to create a dance step or a dance move. Okay. So, what copyright can protect is the original choreography created from those individual movements. In fact, this entire thing, this 333 thing, may also probably not be copyrighted because it's also a considered a building block. So if you allow that to be copyrighted, then no other choreography will be made because you need all of those building blocks in order to create the movements. Okay, so a copyright protects an original creative work, not the basic building blocks that everyone needs to create. So you can think of it this way. A dance step is like a word, and a complete choreography is like a novel. And copyright protects the novel, not the individual words. I hope that makes sense. So when you're executing a dance step, that's a building block. You need many dance steps in order to create a choreography. You can copyright the entire choreography, but not the building blocks, not the dance steps. So, if someone could copyright a single dance step, then no one else would be able to use it. And that would make creating new choreography almost impossible. And also, many of these dance steps, many of the building blocks used in a dance is actually used by ordinary people movement. Walking, jumping, swaying your hips. We use that a lot. So if someone copyrights it, then everything that we do in our lives will have to pay fee to whoever owns the copyright. That's horrible and impossible as well. So the same thing is actually true for photographs, scenes in a music video, lighting, even clothes. People cannot own blue jeans, a school uniform, hanbok, fish islands, grainy film, Y2K fashion, jumping, lying on the grass. Those are building blocks. And all this plagiarism claims because they use the same dance step or hairstyle or poses or because they wore hanboks are absolutely useless. And I'm being nice. I want to use a stronger word. I'm going to be showing you some of the dance steps that the choreographers of NewJeans copied from or took inspiration from other groups. Okay, we'll discuss it as we watch the music video. So this is many of the weekly was active like 2019, 2020, 2021, I think. And as you can see, many of their dance steps were actually used by the choreographers of New Jeans for New Jeans. So the similarity is undeniable, obviously, and not just weekly, also from their label mate, which is Le Sserafim. Many of the movements of Le Sserafim were also used by New Jeans. So this is one of the really, really popular dance move that they made, also used by New Jeans. So this is Le Seraphim, and this the same move was used by them, the hair flip. Okay. So aside from weekly, there's also um, G Friend, which is a they were active 2017, 2018, 2019, up to early 2020s. So many of the visual elements were used. Even the grading, the coloring were similar. This same treatment, that thing that you're seeing right now, it's used by many, many other groups, also many other movies, EXID, um, other groups, and Hypen actually they use that as well. So the treatment is the same, and then there is one more. There's actually a lot. So the speed is actually one of the most referenced by the team of New Jeans. They use a lot of their elements um, in their choreography. So they also were the original of the unsynchronized synchronized dance moves. So what it actually does is that they're doing slightly different moves, kind of similar, but slightly different, and then usually facing different directions, but they still look cohesive because the dance steps are actually still similar. So they also worked with different illustrators for their cartoon characters. The colors are the same. And then there are more. So if you really go through the different ones that are now popping up, there's so many that are actually similar. Um, okay, so does this mean that New Jeans and their team plagiarized? No, absolutely not. Did they draw inspiration from earlier works? Absolutely. I think that's pretty impossible to deny. Absolutely. But every artist does. Copying certain elements is not bad, actually. It's definitely not plagiarism. Art has always borrowed from what came before. I think the more interesting question is not about whether or not they borrowed something, but how they transformed it into something new. What made this entire thing bad is when a certain group pretended to be creatively pure, even though they themselves also are taking creative inspiration or copying, and then they just accuse others of borrowing creative ideas when they're doing the same thing. I think in discussions like this, the more important question is whether or not they progress the art, whether or not from all these building blocks, they were able to create something with a different essence, a different meaning, or a different tone. Now, the answer to that is very subjective, but I believe that it is a more useful and intelligent conversation. We will never agree on the answer to that question. Some will say it is they created something new, some will say it's not, but it doesn't matter. I think just being able to critically think, that's better. I think that's a better exercise. Now, do I think everyone who accuse other artists of plagiarism, whether they are K-pop antis or HYBE antis or simply people who enjoy online fan wars, is going to change their mind after watching this video? Absolutely not. I have no illusion that this 25-minute video can undo years of misinformation, social media algorithm, or narrative that people have already committed themselves into believing. But that's not who this video is for. It's for the person who still has an open mind and the person who genuinely wants to understand how creativity works. The person who's willing to ask, am I applying the same standard to every artist? Because I think at the end of the day, we do have two meaningful choices. We can become the kind of artist who create work so meaningful that will inspire the next generation to build on. Or we can become the kind of fans who celebrate artists for pushing culture forward instead of punishing them for being influenced by the artist who came before them. The most interesting conversation is not about who's borrowing what. It is always about how people transform things that have been done before to something new. Did they add a new perspective, a new emotion, a new story, a new identity? Because that's how art has always evolved. And I think that that's a much more meaningful and progressive conversation than spending years arguing who first used a dance move or camera angle or hairstyle. Okay, thank you for joining me. Please like the video. Also, please visit the online magazine asianentertainmentandculture.com. We're trying to boost that so that we can help more Asian artists and Asian art gain exposure and find their audience in the West. um, Also, if you want to help us, if you want to help the online magazine or the channel, you can point your cameras on the QR code and you can make a donation. But I do more short form video on X, IG, Patreon, TikTok, Instagram, also YouTube Shorts. So follow me there if you want news bits, news type of content. Um, if you want to be a member of my Patreon or YouTube member, I do a live stream once a week for members only. That does not go public, and I also provide exclusive content. That is it. Thank you so much for being with me. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification button. But the most important thing is for you to share the video to as many people as you can. Uh, Give them a link to our social media account. Give a link to our video to our YouTube channel. The more the links are distributed, then the more the algorithm is going to recommend us to more people. Thank you so much. Till next time.